When I got home from school the other day, my mom was crying at the kitchen table. Her two closest friends were there, along with my aunt and uncle on my dad's side. I was afraid to ask what happened, but did anyway. My mom blubbered about how my dad hadn't come home last night. He's a firefighter and had left for a late shift around dinner time the day before. Whenever he worked those super late shifts, he would just sleep on the couch when he came in, so he didn't wake my mom up. When she came downstairs in the morning, she went into the kitchen, got the coffee going, and checked the mailbox. She made my dad a cup of coffee and was planning to wake him up with it. When she went into the living room and saw the couch unoccupied with the blankets still neatly folded on top of the pillow, she dropped the full cup on the floor, spilling it everywhere. The first thing she did was call my dad. There was no answer, and her texts went unanswered too. Next, she called his department, and they said they hadn't seen him since the end of his uneventful shift the night before. The day went on as usual, but we were all worried and kept calling my dad. The next day, the newspaper arrived in the morning, and we couldn't believe the picture on the front page. It was of a firefighter sleeping up in a tree, and the headline was, "Exhausted firefighter falls asleep in tree trying to rescue stubborn cat." Moments later, my dad walked in the door. He told us the story of how he was walking to his car from the department after his shift when he could hear a meowing coming from above him. He looked up, and high up in the tree was a wee cat desperately trying to get down. My dad said he was so tired that he almost kept walking. He wasn't the kind of guy to not help anyone or anything out of a hard situation, so he left his bag with his phone in it on the ground and started the long climb up the tree. When he had gotten more than halfway up, he realized what a poor decision he had made. After pulling an all-night shift, he was exhausted and was having a hard time focusing and keeping his eyes open. As he got almost close enough to the cat to grab it, it started climbing higher. My dad said he knew he should get down and get help at that point, but he was so close he kept climbing up after the cat. He stopped to rest, leaning on the thick trunk, and that's when his tired body took over. It was a nice warm day, shady in the tree, and he fell deeply asleep. He slept the entire day away up in that tree, with the world swirling around him. He was on a quiet street, otherwise noise likely would have woke him. When he woke up, it was late the next night. He looked for the cat and couldn't see him. Great, he thought. All that and the cat ended up climbing down on its own. He shimmied down the tree to collect his bag, but his bad luck was on a roll. His bag wasn't there anymore. Someone had taken advantage and ran off with it. My dad got back to his car before he realized that it wasn't much good without his keys, which were in his bag. Little did he know that while he'd been snoozing that day, in the wee hours of the morning, a reporter for the local paper happened to be passing by and somehow noticed the sleeping fireman up in the tree. He snapped his picture and made sure it made it to press that very day. When the paper came out that night, his adventure was front page news. My dad walked back to his fire station and told his crew what had happened. They laughed and laughed before remembering that my mom had phoned frantic. One of the other firefighters drove my dad home, and mere minutes after we opened the mailbox to see the paper, my dad walked in the door. Everyone was happy, relieved, and somewhat confused about what had happened and why my dad had been MIA for so long. The picture went viral, as did the story. Everyone loves a good, funny, heroic story. The picture also became somewhat of an emblem for factions suggesting firefighters were overworked and underpaid. Social media was buzzing with comments on how telling the picture was. I just thought it was funny that my dad wasn't home all night, and then we found out why in the next day's newspaper. To watch more animated story videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And tell us in the comments section what you thought about this story.